Welcome to the X Global News Channel. Let's move on to the news. Attacks of airfields in Russia. On the morning of December 5, two military airfields were attacked, where strategic bombers and missile carriers of the Russian aerospace forces are based. From the base in Engels, Russian aircraft take off to strike Ukraine. The planes struck another such blow after the morning attack. The shelling of Ukraine continues right now, and the armed forces of the Russian Federation are not going to stop, but want to reach a critical state of the Ukrainian energy system in order to force negotiations with Vladimir Putin, which will be beneficial for Putin. He thinks that the population of Ukraine may not be able to stand it and start demanding negotiations from the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, so that he ends these hellish living conditions. But so far this goal cannot be fulfilled by Russian troops because of the strong spirit of the Ukrainian people, who do not plan to give up, but only to rally even more and endure further for future victory. According to our information, the same drones were used to attack the ships of the Black Sea Fleet of the Russian Federation in the Bay of Sevastopol. These are new Ukrainian-made devices with a long flight range, up to 1,200 kilometers. In Engels, according to official information, two planes were damaged. In Ryazan, where another strategic aviation base is located, a fuel tanker was destroyed, 3 people were killed, 6 injured. According to our information, one Tu-95 strategic bomber was destroyed in Engels. The second aircraft of an unknown type was damaged. In Ryazan, 4 aircraft were damaged, which ones, we do not know, and the same fuel tanker from the official message. The drones were launched from the territory of Ukraine. The Russian air defense could not record either the launch or the flight of drones. Earlier, the Ukrainian army has already attacked airfields in the Kaluga region and on the border territories. We assume that the strikes will continue and will probably be massive. The goal is to destroy the maximum number of strategic bombers and missile carriers of the Russian aerospace forces in order to reduce the intensity of attacks on Ukraine. Given that the number of strategic aviation in the Russian Federation is measured in tens, not hundreds and thousands of aircraft, constant and accurate strikes on strategic aircraft bases can give results and, in the future, deprive the Russian Federation of the possibility of massive shelling of Ukrainian cities and infrastructure. The effectiveness of the Russian air defense since the beginning of the war, the officers of the air defense units estimate is low. Partly because of the level of training of personnel, partly because of the quality and quantity of anti-aircraft and anti-missile weapons. There is also new information about the beginning of a new mobilization of the Russian population into the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Apparently, those 300,000 soldiers have already run out. According to information from the main Organizational and Mobilization Department of the Ministry of Defense, the formation of a list of persons subject to mobilization from December 12 to February 1 has begun. Already this week, employees of military enlistment offices, together with police officers, will once again begin rounds of houses and businesses and the distribution of summonses. This time, hospitals, polyclinics, universities, colleges will also be bypassed. The FSSP, Federal Bailiff Service, tax authorities, the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Health will take part in the mobilization activities. They will provide the military with access to databases and help deliver subpoenas. There is no single database, we use query data in our work. The GOMA provides lists to other departments, where reconciliation is carried out on these lists, and those citizens who pass through departmental databases will be provided with subpoenas. Simply put, the bailiffs will receive surnames from us. If these people are among their clients, they will be issued summonses, summoning them to the FSSP. Work will also be organized with the Ministry of Health and the Tax Service, explains a source in the GOMA of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. The work with the Ministry of Education and universities will be structured differently. There are many students who sympathize with the opponents of the war and the opposition, participated in protest actions. Most of the unreliable ones are collected in the database of the Center for Countering Extremism of the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the Russian Federation, Center E. The management of universities and representatives of the Ministry of Education will receive from the Center E lists of the names of these unreliable, and through the educational parts of universities will ensure the issuance of summonses to such students. According to the students, the task is to scare them. It is difficult to summon them, they are all such greyhounds, they know their rights like. They won't be of any use in the army, but shooing everyone at once is a great opportunity. They will immediately fill up the slurps and sit quietly. The most violent ones will be taken away anyway. they will be expelled and raked in. Or they'll run away. It will be easier to work, says a source in the central office of the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Mobilization measures this time will be aimed at the population of large cities, since the resource of villages and small settlements is almost exhausted. Active work will begin immediately after the formation of lists is completed. It could be December 7th to 8th. In any case, the process will be launched on the 12th. So far, the flow of those who received summonses in October and early November is resuming in the military enlistment offices. Well, there are enough fools who come by themselves. This also applies to notifications about the change of residence and those who come to get up for military registration, and conscripts who are now returning, says the officer of the Goma GSH. According to information from several Moscow military enlistment offices, they do issue mobilization orders to citizens who voluntarily appeared to register for military service or notify about a change of status or place of residence. According to these mobilization regulations, citizens must appear at the specified address within 4 days, having documents and belongings with them. In case of turnout, they will be sent to assembly points and further into the combat zone. As part of the mobilization for December-February, more than 700,000 people should be recruited in the armed forces of the Russian Federation. After that, the mobilization will not be stopped. It will continue until the end of the war. We recommend that those who do not want to take part in the war ignore the summons and certainly do not come voluntarily to the military enlistment offices. Failure to appear on a summons or not notifying military enlistment offices of your location and status is still only an administrative violation, not a criminal offense. Let's move on to international news. The Ukrainian conflict will come to an end if NATO countries accept the proposal of French President Emmanuel Macron on the issue of providing security guarantees to the Russian Federation. This assumption was put forward by the columnist of the publication 1945 Jack Buckby. If Macron's proposal is taken seriously by other NATO leaders, it could put an end to the conflict in Ukraine, the journalist wrote in his article. According to him, one of the security guarantees may also be the refusal of Finland and Sweden to join the North Atlantic Alliance. News from the USA. The US sanctions policy has weakened so much that it cannot bring Russia to its knees. This opinion was expressed by former advisor to ex-President Donald Trump John Bolton in an article for The Hill. According to him, the United States should tighten the policy of restrictive measures so that their opponents feel a strong hand. Bolton also noted that the objects of sanctions pressure are inventive, so they find ways to circumvent restrictions. He recalled Washington's failed decisions regarding Tehran, Caracas, and Pyongyang. Another example is the inability to bring Russia to its knees in retaliation for its actions against Ukraine, Bolton wrote. The OPEC Plus committee recommended continuing to reduce production by 2 million barrels per day. The OPEC Plus Ministerial Monitoring Committee recommended that the alliance continue to reduce oil production by 2 million barrels per day, a source in one of the delegations told RIA Novosti. The recommendation is to keep the current deal, the agency interlocutor said, adding that now it must be approved by the heads of all delegations of the organization. A WP source reports, Zelensky's refusal to engage in dialogue with Russia contradicts the true interests of the United States and allies. A peaceful resolution of the conflict in Ukraine would play into the hands of the United States, but neither Vladimir Zelensky nor Joe Biden are willing to admit it, writer Robert Wright said in an article for The Washington Post. If a lasting peace can be achieved through diplomacy, then negotiations would be in the interests of the United States. This alone is enough for Biden to persuade Ukraine to seek a compromise, the article says. According to the author of the article, the conflict in Ukraine costs the West dearly, the cost of weapons, inflation, and high energy prices. At the same time, with each day of escalation, there is a certain risk of the outbreak of a large-scale war with the direct participation of NATO. Someone from the US leadership should use the topic of arms supplies as a lever of pressure on Zelensky, Wright noted. The Kiev authorities nevertheless resist a diplomatic solution, hoping for a dubious scenario of victory on the battlefield, the writer summed up. That's it. Thanks for watching. Put likes. Thank you for your subscription to the channel. See you soon.